morning. We are going into the winter season with a traditional recipe based on this recipe that comes generally out of I know it from European traditions, used oftentimes in wintertime when it's cold and you need something that's warming and kind of boosting vitality, offsetting the cold, damp conditions that we don't generally deal with here. So, living in Southern California, I like to remind us of this because it's easy to forget the importance. Hey, good morning, folks. Of remembering that we do have seasonal changes and we need to be mindful of them. It's really easy to just kind of float through and just pretend that it's always kind of summer, spring here. But we are going into winter, and so we do feel that. You're on time. Hi, Marcos. Good morning. Good morning, Eyes Open. Good morning, Jennifer. Abahita. Teresa. Hey. Good morning, folks. So this recipe is really yummy. It is a really nice thing to use at this time of year if you have seasonal kind of cold and damp to deal with, but also if you have constitutional cold or damp, right, or situational cold and damp, you have a condition that is just presenting with a cold, damp. They know how to make an entrance. Hi. Good morning. So it's a really handy basic recipe. And then we're going to take that recipe because it is really, really traditional. We're talking about mulling spices. This is a blend that I like to make during winter time in our apothecary. So it's a formula that we often have out, and we're just going to kind of share making it with variations, again, kind of staying with this concept of showing you some basic ideas and then ways to add on to that. So your basic mulling spices. I don't know why I put them over there when we need them right here. So we have our standard ones. Again, this is enormously variable, so whatever you have around is going to be whatever is fine for you. Hi, Danielle. Yay. Abahita, so the word mulling, great question. Thank you for that. So to mull is to steep something for a long period of time. And there's a word, the idea to mull over something, right? To think something over, to kind of stew about it in your head. These are spices, the warming spices that are stewed, that are cooked for a long period of time in a carrier. So generally we use mulling spices to mull or to simmer warming spices in two things, generally cider, apple cider, or wine, red wines. So I really like hi, good morning. I really like light fruity red wines, acidic, young, not really, really tannic, really heavy, dense oaky wines for that. It's really lovely. You can also add to that a little bit of fruit juice. You can just make some hot spiced wine. It's really, really delicious. We are going to use apple juice today, and that's what you smell in here right now, is this one, which I actually made. I simmer this or mulled. So to mull something, another term for that, a synonym in herbal terms would be a decoction, right? A decoction is simmering something for a long period of time, and that's what we're looking at. But here we're generally looking at just those spicy spices. So whichever ones you have around, those are the ones you're going to use. We have cinnamon sticks, right? So pretty standard. Now you can use powder, you can use chips, you can use sticks, you can use whatever form cinnamon you want. In this, we're not using this we're not using the cinnamon in here in therapeutic amounts. We're not using this in really high dosages that sometimes we see cinnamon being used for, where you'd want to be concerned about the species of cinnamon that you are using, right? This is going to be used as a spice. It's going to be aromatic, it's going to be flavorful. So generally you don't need to be too concerned about whether you have a cinnamomum or a cassia species stick. Unless you're like going to town on the cinnamon using a really large amount of it, in which case, then maybe you want to be mindful of choosing a cinnamomum genus cinnamon rather than a cassia genus cinnamon. The cassia genus cinnamons being the ones in very high amounts, hi cat, that over long periods of time in high dosages can be hepatotoxic, can be neurotoxic. That's the cassias, exactly, Marcos, that's the cassias. Cloves. So cloves, very, very, very traditional. Warming and stimulating. Some people really, really love them. And so, a very distinctive flavor. It is easy to go overboard with cloves in a blend, and you get that eugenol concentration that can make the mouth really numb. But on the other hand, that's the term overboard is a totally subjective term, because some people are going to really love that and go for that numbing effect. So that is a traditional one. Star anise is another really beautiful addition here. And here we start to get actually into, an interesting concept if we're using this during cold and flu season, and we're looking at this primarily to be something that is also going to be helpful for supporting immune system response. We're looking at this to be a carrier of other secondary herbs that we're going to go into after we go into the traditional mulling spices. Star anise is a traditional mulling spice, but it is also a source of a compound called, this is the star anise. Shikimic acid is a basic building block of a wide range of different compounds that the body makes, and it's a basis of a wide range of other therapeutic compounds. It is also the primary compound that is used for manufacture of the medication Theraflu, the primary antiviral high poly that we have specific to influenza is based on this compound, shikimic acid, and the source of it is primarily star anise. So star anise sources this compound, which provides this therapeutic effect. Does this mean that star anise has a very specific antiviral effect against the influenza virus? Don't know, but we use it that way, throw it into formulas, because why not? Because you're also getting that warming, stimulating, lovely flavor from it. Cardamom. A member of the ginger family, so it's warming and stimulating, but not quite to the same level. Has a beautiful floral fragrance to it. It's very, very traditional. Also very easy to go overboard on. Also, what is overboard? But it does have a bitterness to it that really comes out when you get lots of cardamom in there. And then finally, the last, second to last traditional one, ginger. So ginger, you're going to add to, as with any of this, you're going to add an appropriate amount for your taste. So if you want a large amount of ginger in your formula, you can make a large amount of ginger because it's your formula. And likewise, if you don't like ginger at all, you don't have to put any ginger in there. There can be 0 ginger in your formula because it's yours. But very warming and stimulating. It's ginger. Y'all know what ginger is. And then the final traditional one is orange peel. So any kind of citrus, orange peel, lemon peel, you can use it fresh or you can have it dried. If you're mixing these up as dried plants, it's nice to have the dried, just to give that brightness, right? That aromatic brightness that the citrus gives to it. And then you've got, all the flavonoids in there and the mucolytic effects, breaking down of mucus strands. The mucolytic effect of citrus is also going to be helpful if you're using it during an acute infectious condition. All right, so that is the basic recipe for mulling spices, blended however you like. Because if we look at what we're doing, we're using these aromatic plants, but they're large and dense, and so they need to be decocted. This is what mulling means. It's a decoction. And so we can think, well, we're doing a long-term water extraction of something. And so what other plants have other therapeutic effects that would be synergistic with this time of the year and that type of medicine making, and also those flavors. And we come into some really perfect additions. So the first one is astragalus root. So astragalus is one of the primary superior tonic herbs of Chinese herbalism, one of the primary deep immune tonics. So we use astragalus not during acute infectious conditions, but when we want to avoid acute infectious conditions. We take it when we have a weakened immune system, generally if we are just going into a time of season where we just generally are more susceptible to stuff going around, right? We all have different times of year that we're weakest in that, and for many people it is this time of year, this winter time. So taking astragalus as a daily tonic or as a semi-regular tonic for strengthening the immune system is lovely. And if you have never tasted astragalus before, or even if you have, and you want to take it again, I'm going to pass around some of these slices, and you can just take a piece and nibble on it so that you get a sense of what the flavor of astragalus is. And you can see that it's just one of the mildest tastes. And I'm going to show you, this is a astragalus slice. It looks like a piece of wood, and it tastes like a piece of wood. A very sweet piece of wood, a sweet and starchy piece of wood.
Chew it or swallow it?
Just chew it, yeah. You may be able to swallow it. I would be very impressed with your digestive abilities if you're able to swallow it. If you look at the fibrous nature of it, it's also like chewing on a piece of wood. So there's lots and lots and lots of cellulose there. But absolutely, it's high in fiber. So the flavor, very, very neutral, sweet, and very, very pleasant. So easy to slip it into almost any formula without anyone noticing. True for all adaptogens, avoiding during active sickness, not necessarily all of them. It is specific for astragalus because of its nature, because of its nourishing and building nature in TCM tradition. I'm telling you this as a Western herbalist who doesn't practice TCM herbalism, and so this is just to let you know the source of information you're getting this from. My understanding is that the warming, nourishing, building nature of astragalus in Chinese herbalism is contraindicated when you have an acute infectious disease like this, because that warming, nourishing, building nature of the plant for us is also going to build and nourish the pathogen. the infecting agent. And so you don't want to be doing that. And so you wait until after, you wait before, you take it before, or you wait until after to take something like astragalus. But right now is a perfect time for that. But no, it's not necessarily true for all adaptogens. So you could certainly throw into this formula if you wanted to, and I considered it and decided not to. You could do something like reishi. Right? Reishi slices would be great in here, but there's a distinct bitterness to reishi that I would not welcome in my blend, but you might welcome in yours. You could throw astragalus in here. You could throw eleuthero would be great in here. So the thing about astragalus also, the flavor would be a bit much. A lot of the other adaptogens, I think the flavor is a bit much. The thing that I also like about the astragalus in here is that the neutrality of the flavor really just kind of slips in there really nicely. That's what we're looking for. So deep immune tonifying, more specifically, immune tonifying elderberry. So this is a specific for flu, right? So the anthocyanins, the pigments, the thing that makes black elderberry black, right? That deep purple color right there. These anthocyanins are called sambucins. These specific ones are called sambucins. And sambucins are anthocyanins that block the ability of the influenza virus to enter into cells. And the virus has to enter into the cell in order to hijack, to use our genetic material to replicate itself and then move and spread into the body. So without an ability to come in and access that genetic material, the virus is unable to replicate and is also the target of immune cells outside that cell more effectively. And so that's how elderberry works, is it just strengthens that. And if you think about it, that's what flavonoids do, right? They strengthen tissues. We always talk about that. That's one of the primary things you want to think about is flavonoids strengthen tissues. Your question is what tissues and how are they strengthening it? This is kind of a unique type of tissue that this flavonoid strengthens, but nonetheless. Hey, Lori, you're late to the talk. Timing is appropriate, I believe. Last night, talking about astragalus, do not add if sick, because per Chinese medicine, astragalus locks the burger in. Lori, I'm guessing maybe autocorrect changed something. Locks the burger in. I think is perhaps not a direct translation, or maybe it is. I don't know, but check that. So elder is something that can be used in acute infectious conditions. It is used specifically for that. It's also a flavonoid. It's also going to be strengthening tissues. It's wonderful for you. So you can take it long term. It's appropriate. Burglar locks the burglar in. Locks the burglar in, right? You want to allow space for the burglar to get out. Yeah, yes. That makes more sense. Thanks, Lori. So, and then elderberries have just a lovely, fruity flavor. It's a beautiful flavor to go along with your, again, having it be something that you can like throw. What I do with this is a blend that I use quite often whenever I'm going to a holiday get together kind of party thing. I always say, well, I can make something because this is something that I can make. I feel pretty good about providing it for people, and they're getting this other support. 2 more fruits to throw in there, since fruits are a really nice addition for this. The third one is goji berries. Third? I guess that's third because we have orange. So goji berries, also just a really nice, lovely, nourishing fruit in there. I don't think that it is the best use of goji berries because you're always pulling the mark. You've got mark to deal with, to throw out, right? And goji berries, if you're eating them, you're getting 100% absorption of that. Anything that you're throwing away, you are not getting 100% of the medicine there. If you're throwing it away, you're throwing it away. And so goji berries can be in there. Anytime I have goji berries in something, I'm generally going to go through the mark and pick them out and eat them anyway, like little raisins, because they're delicious. Where you wouldn't necessarily want to do that with the elderberries. That isn't appropriate for elderberries because the seeds in there. And likewise, the fourth berry that I like to throw in there is hawthorn berries. So hawthorn berries are supportive to the heart, cardiovascular system, circulatory system, generally just a flavonoid-rich, yummy, good, nourishing fruit, because why not throw another one in there? You can eat the fruit around the outside of the hawthorn berry if you're kind of going into that mode with the other ones. However, the hawthorn has a really big seed inside it, and so it's not really worth a lot of the effort to do that, but if you want to do that, you absolutely can. So we've got this base of the warming spices that we create, and then addition of these other ones. Again, these are 4 that I just kind of grabbed immediately off the shelf there. You might want to add other adaptogens, other things in there that would be appropriate for you or that would be available in your apothecary. So what you're going to do today is you're going to just make a blend. You really can't go wrong if you consider the flavor and the strength and the intensity of the herbs that you are familiar with. And if it's an herb that you're not familiar with, be curious and add it to there, but maybe use a little bit of a light hand, or best thing would be to taste some of it. You can nibble on any of this, eat it and see what it tastes like. And that way you'll know how it's going to mix into your blend, and then adding in any of the additional herbs there. And as you are doing that, I'm going to pour you, because I have some that I made, because this does have to decoct. We want to simmer this for a long period of time. I generally like to let something like this simmer for about 45 minutes to an hour to really extract everything out of there. Any questions? It's one of those soup recipes. You just throw it all together and it'll be fine. It'll taste wonderful. Yeah. Alrighty. Here, I will set this down here for y'all. You can go to town. There's bags right there. If you need some spoons.
Is this wine?
No, I did not do wine today.
I was a little late, so
No, that's okay. This is apple juice.
Apple juice.
Apple juice and water. I diluted it, partially because I knew it was gonna reconstitute.
Could you do it just in apple juice, or would you recommend doing apple juice and water?
I like apple juice and water because I like to dilute it, just because apple juice is sugar, right? So, I mean, you can like totally have it be a celebration of sugar and reduce it down, which would be delicious, because if you reduce it down, it's going to be kind of thick, almost syrupy as it concentrates, right? Especially since the astragalus is a little bit kind of, it has body to it, and so it would increase that body. That might be really delicious. Yes.
How much approximately would you have to reduce it, and then maybe add something to make it kind of shelf stable, or at least fridge stable for a while?
Yeah.
Like turning it into a syrup, so to speak.
Right. I mean, you can turn it into a syrup using like the recipe that we did last week, right? So basically making a syrup. Making this, I would reduce it as much as possible. So we do have, there's a dance here of, they're aromatics, but they're stable aromatics, so we can do a decoction. But the more you decoct them, you are losing some of that, and you can smell that, because this room smells amazing, but all of that is medicine that's not in here. So there's this, the more you reduce it, the more you're concentrating some compounds, but you're also losing nuance and complexity of flavor as more of those low molecular weight compounds are driven off. You're going to keep the larger ones. It's just not going to be. The way around that is to just grind the herbs more finely, and then saturate the water solution. Use 3 or 4 times the amount of herbs that you would normally use. increase the surface area by grinding them, and then simmer them for, a good amount of time, but not so much that you're worried about driving everything off, right? That would be a way around that. And that way you're just saturating the water with increasing the amount of plants. It is a little bit more wasteful of the plants to do that, but you are going to retain that complexity. And with that, you could, maybe do a 50% reduction. So up the herbs and then do a 50% reduction. If you didn't up the herbs, I would want to do, really to get it a nice strong syrup, I would want to do like maybe a 4 times reduction. So a 1 to 4 reduction. And then you could throw in your syrup, your honey, your sugar, whatever you want to do to make it a syrup, or glycerin or whatever. Right. You could also do a glycerite. You could do a glycerin extraction. Yeah. All right. So there's bowls there that you can use to blend. And then if you want to taste some of this, I can't tell you what the specific ratio of this was, because this was I just have to make this really fast, so I just grabbed them and threw them into a pot, which is basically what you're going to be doing here. For these kind of spices, especially cinnamon and astragalus, I like to let it sit after decocting on a hot firewood plate overnight, fireproof maybe? So it keeps warm but not boiling. The extraction is very tasty. Yeah, abajita, that's a great idea. And yeah, that long extraction, especially for the astragalus, 100%, yeah, that's gonna only benefit. You might as well get that longer extraction there. Yeah, and I do like with the long extraction with the astragalus, I do like that the richness of the mouthfeel that it gives to formulas like that. It's really nice. And then if you wanted to, you could also throw in something like marshmallow root, right? If you wanted to make this into something that maybe it was, if we get, fires or just people are getting a lot of COVID type throat things, right? Where generally you get a lot of heat and inflammation. Adding in some mucilaginous plants would be nice there too. So some marshmallow root or slippery elm. Although we've got some, the cinnamon and the astragalus are more moistening in this formula, so we do have some of that dryness that would generally be there from this warming blend is a little bit offset by those. Yeah. All right. So that is the recipe for the day. Any questions from you folks? It is a little bit shorter class because there's less to go through. It's a really easy, basic. Mm-hmm. So with wine, great question. With wine, you don't want to reduce it too much, just because the wine also suffers if you extract for a long time. So I like to do maybe about 20-30 minutes in a wine. And again, with wines, consider the decoction doesn't kill the mucilage. So certain types of mucilage are best extracted in cold water. But there's lots of different types of these polysaccharides, these long chains of sugars. Then they all like to absorb and hold moisture. They are all moistening, and they extract at different temperatures. And so if you have something like marshmallow, you have the pure mucilage, which does like to extract in cold water, but you have other compounds, including the cellulose of the root system itself. And one of the things that I found with marshmallow root this is a theory, but I think it's a good theory, seems to be a workable theory, is if you have old marshmallow root, if you got marshmallow root that's just been hanging around for a long time, it tends to be, if you do just a cold water extraction from it, it tends to not extract very well. It won't be really mucilaginous. It'll be, slightly, you'll be, you can tell that it's marshmallow, but it's not going to be slimy, right? It's not going to be as slimy as when you have a fresh marshmallow, a freshly dried marshmallow root. It's gonna extract really, really nicely and pretty quickly. I think the older your marshmallow root, the better it likes a hit of hot water, and then let it cool down afterwards to cold water. And that way the hot water kind of softens and opens up the cellulose and allows the mucilage and the other polysaccharides to be pulled out. That is my working theory. Seems to work. But no. So what you could also do, you could totally add it afterwards also. We've talked about sometimes making extractions of plants like marshmallow and making ice cubes out of them. This would be a perfect use for mucilage ice cubes, right? If you have marshmallow root ice cubes in there, you can make this and do a cold water extract there, then just take one of your ice cubes, throw it in there, and now you've got mucilage in there that has been extracted. You know exactly how much is in there. That would be a great thing to do there. So a fast resume of the ingredients. We've got ginger, cinnamon, orange peel, star anise, clove, and cardamom are the traditional mulling spices that we have in there. And then we have, as additional compounds, the other support herbs. We have astragalus, elderberry, goji berries, and hawthorn berries are the four that we threw in there. So and so when you extract it, when you steep it, I don't know if you can see, it's got a really nice kind of purpley color from the elderberries. And it's beautifully spicy. Ooh, that's very, very nice. Really spicy and really fruity and really delicious. It's really tasty. It just tastes like a yummy holiday recipe is all it tastes like. But you've got these profoundly nourishing and supportive herbs in there that make it that much better. So there you go. It's a great little holiday recipe for you to take home with you. So there you go. I will see you next week with another recipe. Good to see you all. If you make it with wine, I guess it would be shelf stable to bottle it up again. It is somewhat shelf stable. People bottle it up. You'd want to keep it refrigerated. It generally gets drunk. It's pretty tasty. So, yeah. But yes, you can keep it in there for a while. Yeah, I don't know how long. All right. Take care. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.